Hello and welcome back to my channel. First of all, a huge thank you to everyone who watched my driftwood video recently. Loads of new subscribers, so many comments, it was an amazing response, so thank you to you all and welcome back to the channel. And if you're new to this video, then please subscribe and I hope you enjoy this one. In today's video I'm going to be turning this piece of Laburnum, which I was given in 2020 when it had been damaged and came down in a storm. It came from a place called Malpas in Truro.
Here's a little bit of footage. I wandered down to the creek recently and took this. Unfortunately it was a bit of a grey day, but it really is peaceful down at Malpas. On the left here you can see the bank of the river, and the tree came from just up behind there.
So here's the piece of wood that I'm going to be working on. It is a massive triple crotch of Laburnum, and I'm going to go for a live edge bowl because, you know me, I love a live edge bowl. I think what I'm going to do first of all is remove a bit of this excess up the top where you can actually just see through it. You probably can't quite see that on the camera, but I'm going to mark out a rough shape and we'll get that cut on the bandsaw. So it was actually my old DT teacher, woodwork teacher from school, who contacted me about the wood. It was his neighbour's tree, and he let me know that the wood was available and thought I might be interested in turning it. So obviously I was straight down there. First of all, I'm going to mark out my rough area, finding roughly on the centre here of where I'm going to aim for. Now I'll mark it slightly bigger, and I'm just going to take off the corners. These are too low down to keep the live edge, and we can sort of roughly see already where the live edge is going to come around. I'm sort of aiming for the top of this piece here where I've got a high spot, so we'll put a rough mark here, and there we go. We can just see a rough guide, and obviously I can keep the flat surface on the bandsaw, and we'll cut this out. Laburnum is really beautiful wood to work. It's very dark. This has obviously been air drying for the best part of 5 years, so it's nice and dry. Wood wise, it's like a dark yew really, if I had to compare it to anything else. It's got that beautiful contrasting sapwood on the outside and the darker heartwood, which polishes up beautifully. You can actually see a little laburnum sphere that I turned recently from the same tree, so it gives you an idea of how nicely that wood's going to finish, which will be great when we get there. But for now, we'll get this one on the bandsaw, get it cut out and get it mounted up on the lathe.
Just making a little flat spot for the faceplate there so it mounts a little bit straighter. That's the first few cuts done, and the blank's a little bit more balanced now. As I said earlier, this bit's really well seasoned after about 5 years of air drying, so I found with Laburnum it seems to get a bit tougher as it dries, and as a result it's a bit harder going and you don't get such big long ribbons. It did turn a few bits green when I first got the wood, and it was a little bit softer feeling and produced quite a lot more ribbons, whereas this seems to be coming off slightly shorter shavings, a lot more chippings. getting quite close to a finished shape on the outside now. Just having a bit of trouble with that wing at the end there. But all I need to really do is just bring my tool rest round so I'm a bit closer to it, and it should shape up nicely. Cleaning up that last bit of the outside of the wing, and then make a final cut before I pop my mortise in and give it a quick sand, ready to turn it around.
So I'm halfway through, and so far it's held together. I'll take it off, get it ready for hollowing. You can see there quite a big void going through the middle of this bit, but I think if I leave enough volume in the rim, you can see the wood's pretty solid in the centre. It all looks like it joins up at some point, so as long as I don't go too deep, we should be alright. So get that mounted up now. Let me know in the comments what you think, whether this one's going to survive. Obviously, if you've watched to the end and skipped back, you'll know the answer. I don't yet. Tighten it up, make sure nothing cracks. There's enough solid wood in there. I've still got a nice tight clamping point on there, inside that mortise. And I think that should be good. Time to get hollowing, wish me luck.
The lighter sapwood is slightly softer than the darker heartwood, but even saying that, it's still pretty tough, so lots of shallow cuts coming up. Getting some material out now. You can really see the gaps between the branches starting to show themselves now. Lots of very shallow, thin, fine cuts for the last part of this. The wood was very dense, as I say earlier, and just had to go slow and steady really. Last couple of very, very fine finishing cuts there, just to level out the bottom of the bowl. Then a quick sand and clean out all the little crevices that were hiding bits of sawdust and bark, and ready for oil.
Well, it held together and all sanded, ready for some oil. And what we're going to use is some Lockskin hemp oil for wood, as always. Here we go. First bit of oil. And see the colours come out in this laburnum. Soaking it up straight away. But it is quite a high oil content naturally in laburnum, a bit like yew and other sort of similar styles of wood, and as a result it probably won't need more than a couple of coats, as it will soak the first one up pretty quick, but then next coats tend to not need so much oil. There we go. Get a little bit up on that bark. Get it all way close. Good job there's not much left in that one, which reminds me, you can get this from lockskin.com. Really good stuff. don't need gloves, and completely natural, food safe wood finish. There we go, look at that. A bit more soaking it up around the edge there, and then we'll do the outside. Look at all that grain. Isn't it lovely? The sapwood contrasting with the heartwood, and then the bark as well. I love the natural look of all of those layers in the tree. And soaking up the oil lovely here. Almost finished. Now we'll let that one soak in for a while, and then we'll give it a little polish, get it off the lathe and have a proper look, and then it will get some more coats of oil once this one's had a chance to soak in a bit more and cure a little bit, which probably be a day or two, maybe a little bit longer depending on how warm it gets down here in Cornwall. It's a bit cold at the minute still. There we go. So that's a final little buff done, and that wood is really shining. Okay, time to take it off. Get my chuck key, and here we are. One triple crotch Laburnum live edge bowl. Hope you enjoyed that one. Beautiful piece of laburnum with some really interesting figure where those three branches intersect, and there's some beautiful depth in the grain around the edges where quite mesmerising. Big old gap through there, which I'm not sure if it shows that well on camera, but you can see right the way through this whole section of the bowl. But there was enough good wood here that it all held together, and yeah, nice solid bit of laburnum. Thank you for watching, and please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video.